this is going to be a practical demonstration. Rather than make a slideshow for you guys and stuff like that, I'm going to show you an actual hybrid meeting that was just running about like a half an hour ago. You walk in the door, there we go. We got that. We got a basket. We got masks. We got hand sanitizer. And you guys can see this set up. All I have is a laptop, a cell phone, and at this location, I have a hotspot in the window. It's an iPad operating as a hotspot. That connects the laptop. The cell phone is on its own cell connection. If I don't get good enough Wi-Fi from the hotspot, from like just cell connection, like was said before, the first thing you got to establish in your hybrid meeting at your church, your basement, your gymnasium, wherever you're meeting, is the internet connection. Okay, you have to make sure that either you can get a cell phone signal that's strong enough, or you can connect to the church's Wi-Fi. That was one of the things that I did. All right, so yeah, I mean, you're basically seeing what people see in the room. Okay, we have half the room set up where it's seen, and then the other half on this other pole. There you go. I disappeared. So that's how we set up the laptop. What I just showed you on the screen, and which if you're looking back at my camera, you can stop spotlighting that camera now. The laptop is angled so that it only gets half the room, okay? The cell phone that you see on the tripod can be used in one of two ways, okay? One, you can have it set up as audio only, or you can use it up at the front of the room if there's a speaker physically in the room. Okay, I have the external monitor set up so that people can see if it's a hybrid, if it's a virtual speaker, so that people in the room can see it better. And the audio is all connected to the cell phone. All the laptop is really doing is displaying on the screen the extra monitor, and it has the camera on, and that's it. The decision to turn the camera to the room, that is up to the group. I don't see any problem with it, and our group didn't have any problem with it doing it as a group conscience. Once again, the cell phone is audio only. When the speaker is finished sharing, if they're physically in the room, I take this whole thing along with the speaker, and I have an audio speaker too, as you can see, attached to it, and I sit next to a person that's sharing. So like if a person's sharing in that seat right there, I just sit next to them, and I hold this basically out so they get good audio response. This is basically just an iPhone. You could do this with a Samsung device, but you want to test this stuff. You know, you want to do like a dry run. But I basically, in the meeting, and tonight I had somebody else do it, they took this part and they just basically moved around the room. We only had about 10 people, a little less, in the room. The other thing that I'm going to stress to you, battery power. I don't think anybody mentioned it yet. I mean, you've heard some of these suggestions before, what I'm kind of going over, but battery packs, okay? These things, okay? You need something that you can attach to your devices, like a phone or any kind of a remote device, like that hotspot that also has a battery pack attached to it, so that I don't run out of juice through an entire meeting. Pretty much that's the standard setup. Now, as far as the laptop and the monitor is concerned, that's an old monitor. It's whatever. It's got to be like 10, it could be 10 years old. It was something that somebody was throwing out. I'm an IT guy, had access to, you know, junk. And I took it. And, you know, one of my clients was like, yeah, get rid of it, because he was going to throw it out. So people have these things lying around. Getting donations, an old laptop, you know, something that can run Zoom, an old monitor, or just 2 iPhones can honestly run a hybrid meeting fairly successfully. The only issue with just 2 cell phones running the hybrid is the people in the meeting being able to see the speaker and or the people sharing online in the Zoom room. I don't know how I'm doing on time. The only other thing I'm going to say is that at the other location, which I will share the screen where I'm doing a hybrid. Where's my photos? All right, so you can see this setup. It's basically the same thing. But the only difference at this location is I didn't need a hotspot. I couldn't do a hotspot. There was no cell coverage in that basement. So I had to talk to the church, which I did. I ran a cable from their actual router because it was located. Set up my own Wi-Fi router in there. Okay, good. So, all right. So, like I said, at that other location, I had a Wi-Fi router that I had to run into that basement room so that I had a strong Wi-Fi connection. But the setup, once again, is the same. And this iPad that I was showing you before that acts as a hotspot there, well, upstairs at the church, they had an overflow room to deal with capacity issues, because I know a lot of people are questioning this stuff. How many people are you going to have in the room? What are you going to do with the overflow? Well, this is the perfect solution for capacity issues, is to have Zoom set up, have a hybrid setup. This device right here, which I'm going to show you, this is an adapter for an iPad. It allows HDMI to be hooked up and a power supply and an HDMI cable. I hook it to a TV that's in an overflow room already set up by the church, because they do the same thing for services. So at that other location, we have 25 in the room, up to 6 or 7 people in the overflow room. And beyond that, if more people come, members have already said that they would leave the room and go sit in their car and join on Zoom. That's why I'm really trying to encourage people to try the hybrids, to work out the logistics. The only other thing I will tell you is you do need, and it's kind of mentioned before, whether you're having virtual chair people, virtual speakers, in-person chair people, you still need to maintain a person in the Zoom room who is the host, who handles the sharing of the screen for the people on Zoom, that handles putting up the key tags and whatever other things you're doing inside the hybrid meeting, so that you in the room managing the in-person part of the hybrid can focus in on what you need to focus in on. And then, of course, the chairperson. You can do any one of these setups, okay, without too much difficulty, without too much expense. I spent $5 on the speaker, $20 on the adapter. You know, it wasn't really a lot of money. So that's a practical setup. I'm going to echo what Dennis said. You know, like, we can find solutions to make this work for whether it's people who, you know, have underlying conditions, can't attend, or to deal with capacity issues. The hybrid solution, I think, is the best way for us to go about having our meetings and still, you know, and still meeting everybody's needs. You know, like, I'll stress again, the first thing you got to do is establish your connection. Many of the speakers previously said that. Make sure, go to that church. You got a key, sit in there, attend a Zoom meeting on whatever kind of network connection you're going to be using for your hybrid, and see how that goes. Share, have your camera on, you know, and if you're connected well, anything else is possible. But connection to the internet is the primary thing, whether you're going to use a hotspot or whatever other devices you're going to use. And then after that, yeah, the audio. You know, just there are lots of solutions out there with the audio. You know, if you were at the World Service presentation, they were talking about high-end mics and different things to capture, and directional mics and stuff like that. They are out there. There are some economical ones, but it's going to be trial and error to see what works and what doesn't. You know, that's part of the other thing. I have an iPad in my virtual HNI setup. That's it. One iPad for the entire room that the detox rehab and people come into. And they share from the back of the room, and I hear them just fine, as long as they're quiet, you know. And some of them come up to the iPad and share. So those solutions are workable. But yeah, like Dennis said, we can do this. And you have a lot of talented people in this fellowship too who can help. So yeah, just ask for it. And you know, I'm sure Dennis will, you know, he's been there for me too when I've had questions for him. I'm there for anybody. Our information's in the chat. And yeah, feel free to call me and I'll talk to anybody about this stuff. Thanks for letting me share.